the live feed. It's Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock as usual, and today we're just going to be chatting about Sabaya. There's been a lot of questions and obviously demand to find out a bit more about Sabaya as a node. We've talked about the sort of catalytic need going forward for the economy. So we're just going to really run through Sabaya as a node, why we feel as developers it's going to be the next hot node, the next catalytic node that we see coming out on the other side of the COVID-19. We run through a couple of facts and figures, and just some of the catalytic projects as well as socio-economic stuff, and then open the questions and answer session. So probably 10 minutes. That's what we're going to try and keep it quite tight. So Sabaya as a node, just for everyone that isn't familiar with where it is, it's about 3 kilometers north of Umhlanga. It's right on the correct side, i.e. the beach side of the M4, which is the coastal road. So a lot of the development that has happened so far is in the region of 4 to 5 billion rands worth of development has happened already. It's that coastal stretch which abuts between the highway and all the coastal forest, the dune forest, which goes down onto the coastline, 6.5 kilometers of beach frontage. At the moment, it's primarily residential, a bit of commercial, a bit of retail, but really little insight into why people are really like looking after and looking for opportunities in Sabaya. So, in terms of growth, why we recommend and why we've invested heavily in the Sabaya node is that it's always good to get in early. Sabaya as a node is very, very young. To give you an idea of scale, it's the same size, if not larger, than the entire Umhlanga Gateway precinct put together. Early entry into nodes always, in terms of investment opportunity, always the best to get in early. Everyone, as most developers or investors or property guys know, as the quicker you can get in, the earlier you get in, the higher the yield on the investment. Location and lifestyle. Location is just unbelievable. I mean, the fact that this land has remained undeveloped until now is phenomenal. 3 kilometers, so let's say a five-minute drive into Umhlanga max, a 5-minute drive, and you're at the international airport, situated on the coastal region, so not inland, not sort of isolated in like a farm, old farming area, as a developing node, right on the coastline with amazing sea views and amazing pristine coastal forest, which is protected. Obviously, the beach access is a massive thing. A lot of our queries that have come from inland guys like Johannesburg and Pretoria, guys saying, well, look, if I'm going to invest in something, I want to be close to the sea. If I'm going to retire somewhere, I want to be close to the sea. If it's going to be in Durban, I want to be close to the sea. I don't want to be inland. So it offers all of that. And then the other thing is, lifestyle in terms of the Johannesburg guys working in Sandton and the Rosebank areas, etc. Some of the guys are commuting an hour and a half to get into work on a daily basis because of traffic. So from Sabaya to Sandton is an hour and 15 minutes. Obviously when the flight's open, but it gives you an idea of how convenient. So we can optimize the lifestyle and use the lifestyle for families, have these amazing facilities and warm water and all the recreational stuff which we're going to talk about, plus have the ability to access Joburg in a 45, 50-minute flight. So, really, really amazing access ability. And then obviously for our local guys, the sort of guys that are moving from Westville, Kaiserslautern, Hillcrest, the commute in and out of Umhlanga every day, that 45-minute in and out, even Belito guys, 25, 30 minutes in and out. A lot of guys interested in being closer, more convenience lifestyle. We've talked about convenience over and over again. A couple of other interesting facts: 60% of Sabaya is green areas. So 60% of the entire development will be green areas. 350 hectares of pristine coastal forest, which is totally safe. It's been patrolled, secured, cleaned out. The large back portions of the M4 are now fenced. So forest trails, mountain bike trails, bird watching, access down to the beach, all of that stuff is just, at the moment, particularly in lockdown, the stage for the ability to actually go open your estate gates and just go and have a 5-kilometer walk through pristine forest down onto the beach. We see guys at the moment at Sibaya just really thriving and enjoying all these natural facilities, which I think we all appreciating substantially more than what we were. So what's coming? I think we've seen that there's a substantial amount of residential, but the other things are in the pipeline. 20,000 square meter retail facility with all our convenience shopping, our Woolies and our Pick and Pays and all those type of things. Maybe the Virgin Active. So 20,000 squares, decent size. Sort of local and a really nice high-end marketplace and eateries and those type of things. Lots of open green spaces, kid-friendly coffee shops, etc. So that's coming. 5,000 square meter medical facilities coming. The private school, which is a Devmco grade R to grade 12, 2,000 student school, has been bought, transferred. That's coming. Hotel rights for a 500-bed hotel. That's on the cards. And going to be coming in the next, let's call it 5 years. A private university, the phase 1 private university, the numbers bandied around there in the region of 1.5 billion. So, something that Durban as a city or a province is desperately needing is, a high-end, high-quality university for our kids once they come out of these private schools. They want to go into a high-end facility that's safe and convenient. Rather than going to Stellenbosch or UCT, they actually can come locally and don't have to, effectively leave the nest. So that's coming. A frail care facility is about to open. I believe that's sort of a couple of months away from opening. That's established, as well as obviously the completion of Gold Coast, Ocean Dune and Pebble Beach have done. The park development, which is a beautiful little development, it's about 3 months away inside Gold Coast, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. That's coming. But as I said, about 2 to 3 months from completion. Shoreline, the retirement apartment scheme is about 2 months away from completion on the first phase. Signature, which is a very high-end freestanding plots, plots selling for up to 10 million. That's actually open, and guys are now building homes. There's about 5 or 6 houses going there at the moment. Gold Coast, also about sort of 3 to 5 million rand a plot. There's approximately 50 houses either starting or in the middle of construction, another 50 houses to come in the next 6 months. Then on top of that, the other developments we've heard of is the Belize, Coral Point, Saxony, Sibaya Sands, all more apartment schemes. So that's what we know of imminently. What else? Socio-economic stuff. Let's just talk about that. What is it doing in terms of jobs? How are we going to stimulate the economy? What are us as developers? What do we think it's going to do in terms of how do we play our part, and how do we do it quite quickly? Because when we unlock down to stage 3 and stage 2, what type of impact is Sibaya going to have? It's just another node. So just a couple of stats on that. In terms of Sibaya as an isolated pocket, in the next 3 to 5 years, we're anticipating in the region of 30 to 40,000 jobs being created over 10 years, 70 to 80,000 jobs, of which approximately 10,000 jobs will be permanent. The bulk of the non-permanent will be construction orientated and civil orientated jobs. But what that does in terms of economy is massive. 70,000 jobs created at the end of a 10-year period, with our forecast in terms of all these projects going live, generating something in the region of about 150 million rand a year in rates for the city, and the VAT portion payable on those transfers in the region of about 1.2 billion rand that goes back into the city. So, 150 million a year on year, growing up to a point of about 500 million on completion as an annual stream going back into the municipalities, going back into the city, allowing them to upgrade facilities. So massive economic assistance and need in the post-COVID unlocking. A couple of other interesting things that we've got. The total value of the work. Node 6, which is the area behind Umhloti, Bellamont Drive, going down a new precinct that's getting opened up. We will see a lot of these facilities, approximately 20 billion rands worth of work in the next 10 years. Nodes 1 and 5, those are the opened up precincts already, another probably 10 to 15 billion rands worth of work in the next 5 to 10 years there as well. and that that feeds into engineering and quantity surveying and architecture and landscaping and cleaning and maintenance, and it just keeps going, and those generate more and more and more jobs as we go down the category. So I think the big issue and the big demand is convenience. It's going to be the ability to have a lifestyle and a lifestyle that's way more embracing than being isolated in a freestanding house, community orientated, being able to walk your dog to a coffee shop in the precinct. I'm not just talking inside a development. I'm saying, have a jog down the boulevard, pop in at a sports center, pop in at the cricket nets with your kids. They can play cricket, and just walk across to the marketplace, the shopping center, and have maybe an open air cinema on a night with the kids and some pizzas. And I think that secure opportunity to do that and have the community lifestyle is something that people are dying for. And people, I mean, we've seen it with Howick and the retirement nodes, and that how people will congregate in those areas. I mean, Howick's a great little area, but to have that ability on the coastal forest is just something unbelievable. So I really think that I think that's something that we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. What it's done so far, we've completed quite a few projects over the last 3 years. We've seen in the region of 40% capital appreciation on property acquisitions, and we believe that that's going to continue to run, particularly with these the latest interest rate cuts and all the rest of it. We think that the market for existing stock that's around, it's still at those sort of launch prices. To get in early, I think that the savvy investor is going to jump on and grab the last of what's available. But we still believe that 10 to 20% per annum is very achievable. As the market sort of opens up and releases a bit of the anxiety, we think we're going to see a massive surge towards this convenience and community-oriented living. So just a couple of other interesting facts. We've talked about the 2,000 student AdvoTech private school, which is coming. That's imminent. Retirement, retirement's a massive thing. We've actually got another discussion later on today at about 12 o'clock with a group of developers. We're really excited that we've got about 350 to 400 freestanding, very competitively priced units that are going to come to the market. Pet friendly, access to all the retail and the beaches and all the rest of it, all the things that I think retirees do want to they do want to obviously enjoy those lifestyles and convenience of shopping centres and hospitals. So that's something we're really excited about. We'll be talking a little bit later about that. So I think that's really the Sibaya sort of precinct, what's happened and what is going to happen. We could talk about a couple of other things like park runs that are getting established. So the node's really gaining traction as its own standalone, little city, which is starting to develop, which is really exciting. Okay, so we're going to jump onto some of the questions. Let's go. So Charles, we had a couple of unanswered questions from the last session. Dave Douglas, how do you see the retail sector changing post-lockdown? Will people still go to restaurants? So yeah, it's a good point. I think lifestyle's going to change. I think we're going to continue to be the demand for community-based eating and drinking and socializing is always going to be there. I think there's going to be a moderation of how it's done, and certainly a large amount of methodology and risk assessment going forward into those areas, and eventually it will unlock. It might be a 6 to 12 month, how we've seen the presidents gradually release, these layers going back to work and the unlocking of the lockdown. So I think that's sort of what we're going to see from the restaurant node. They're going to ease back in. I think together with that, once the M4 link links in, because it's getting repaired at the moment. Actually had a run down there this morning. It looks about 4 to 5 weeks away. The guys are back on site, which is really good. And it once again, that's the direct link straight into Umhlanga. So we're going to see a lot of that, a lot more demand for a bit more open space. Maybe not the traditional, tight sort of high streets with lots of residents, lots of people. I think the demand for more open air, more park-like environments, convenience, really good high quality food, but the ability to take some food and sit in a park and have a bit of space. I think naturally that's the way that we're going to go forward for certainly in the next couple of years. In terms of infrastructure, roads, police access, what sets Sibaya apart from the rest? Good question. What I always say is, with the partnership we've got with Tonga Tulip, the ability to walk out onto a road that's a cobbled street, which is maintained and serviced, and light bulbs changed, and landscape managed and maintained by a private entity is paramount, and I think that drives property values substantially. So the infrastructure that's in at the moment is about 3.5 kilometers of main boulevard roads. All the fiber optic sleeves are in, the street lights are in, power, water, sewage, everything's in for the entire phase 1, phase 2, phase 1, phase 5, and node 6. The bulk of that stuff's in, which allows probably another 10 to 15 billion rands worth of development before we start triggering upgrades on the other services. The bulk of the infrastructures, and over 100 kilometers of drainage, sewage, and water piping have gone in and are in existence. So that's really, I think services and service delivery is a big issue. So great question, yeah. So a lot of that's in, and we're talking in the region of billions of rands of services in the ground, ready to rock and roll. Isn't the property market in Sibaya increasingly saturated? So actually, when we look at what's actually been achieved, we're still sitting in total at less than 1,000 units in Sibaya. So it seems like a big development node when you look at it at the moment, but considering that just in the Gateway precinct, you're sitting with about 17,000 accommodation units, whether they be apartments or flats or duplexes or whatever. So there's definitely legs, there's definitely demand coming out, and as I said, using more facilities, less urban, more sort of suburban, but proximity orientated. So yeah, I think there's definitely legs. I think the savvy investors are going to continue to jump on, get in early, because those property prices are going to run. And obviously the areas that we're starting to see a bit of sort of, let's call it domestic immigration, like from Mount Edgecombe, from Cowie's Hill, from Morningside, those areas, as people are moving north to more areas that are growing higher, we're seeing the property prices dropping in those areas. So as the demand starts creeping north and the supply is obviously substantially higher in terms of those old high-end areas, we're seeing that the prices in those areas are dropping, and we're seeing the prices in the beachfront areas continue to rise, particularly north of Umhlanga. Hi, Charles. I may have missed this answer somewhere, but when will construction commence at Gold Coast again? So, good question. We actually started the emergency and repairs, maintenance, and the health and safety sort of stuff that we need to do before opening. We started that today. So some of the repairs and the cleaning and maintenance started today, as well as some of the basic roadworks. So we as developers are getting ready. We don't want to hit level 3 and we're not ready. So we're just getting all our ducks in a row and all our health and safety plans and that. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll be back on site. We've got the luxury of having lots of open space and quite low density working situations, and a lot of our guys are very keen to get back and work 6-day weeks just to try and catch up and obviously earn cash flow, get cash flow going, and try and mitigate what's happened over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Good morning, Charles. Will construction be continuing during stage 4 lockdown? So as I say, just emergency stuff, repairs, maintenance, essential things that we need to address. A lot of the civils guys are going back, so the stormwater, roads, sewage, etc. Those guys are back. But the bulk of let's say the top structure work has to wait till the next level of lockdown. How far are you in completion of the park? So Shalia, the park development's probably about 2.5 months away from completion. So we're still there. Let's assume we go back with full force, say in the month of June, probably June, July, completing in the month of August. Do you expect to see a drop in price due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic? Interesting question. I think you're going to see a resistance to buying very high-end products. So I think your 20, 30 million, the stuff that we're seeing in, for instance, on Camps Bay and all the rest of it, I think guys are reassessing priorities. I don't think that it's a lot of guys are being a little bit more cautious with their cash and rather maybe have 2 or 3 smaller units and a 10 million rand residence. I think that market, I do think we're going to see some sort of slump in prices once again, demand supply orientated. But I believe the 2 to 4 million rand market is exactly what the market is going to consistently want to rent, consistently want to stay in. It's stuff that I think all of us in this lockdown, we look around at how we're living at the moment. The ability to use a road that you can go have a run in an estate and take your kids down to a little park and all those type of things. I think those things are the value of that has never been seen more. So I think the value of estates will continue to click up quite highly. I think the value of freestanding stuff and maybe more isolated, where you have to do everything yourself, all your own security, all your own landscaping, maintenance, inconvenient lifestyles, I think we're going to see some substantial drops in those prices. Are there plans for new developments within the 2 to 3 million? 100%. I think we've, our next node that we're looking at, which is node 6, is probably in the region of 500 to 600 retirement and family homes, freestanding stuff that are going to sit in that bracket. Once again, speaking to that sort of 2 to 4 million rand bracket, and we think that's where the market is, and that's what we're going to be looking forward to over the next 2 to 3 years, and trying to capitalize on obviously these low interest rates. We've talked, there's been a lot of talk about inflation starting to run, and inflation, we've seen inflation run, and we've seen what it does to property values. Property values generally seem to tick along quite nicely with inflation. So a lot of other areas don't track it, but property is one of them that does. Will Mshlothi be considered to be part of the Sabaya precinct? Good question. We've got very strong communication, engagements, and relationships with the Mshlothi UIP. The whole sort of the guys that are actually managing or representing the Mshlothi community. We certainly believe that we want to tie in with Mshlothi. We want to, upgrade some of the things that the city hasn't been able to upgrade, budget constraints or whatever it may be. And we think because of the scale of developments that we see unrolling over the next 5 to 10 years, it only makes sense to tie in, upgrade some of the beach facilities, upgrade bins and toilet and ablution blocks. If it has to be privately done, we all for that. The Mshlothi beach and promenade is absolutely beautiful and seriously underutilized and seriously under-maintained. So, that together with getting the security protocol right and opening that up is almost like the beach part of the Sabaya area. I mean, it's naturally something that we want to endorse and obviously pursue. So which we are doing. How has COVID-19 influenced how a development like Park will be further developed? I think we've just got to be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that people have to have social distancing. It's going to be more doing, so guys will still work a 4 or 5 day week, and maybe it's a staggered shift, and maybe we have a 7-day working week with guys doing 3 days and 4 days, so that we don't, we almost separate into teams, because there are obviously, it's easier to track and all those things. So we've got, method statements around all of that, testing facilities and that. So there's a bit of a cumbersome entry and more, health and safety orientated, PPE orientated, bit more vigilance around that, substantially more vigilance around that. So maybe a little bit more cumbersome, but we don't see it impacting the time or the speed of delivery. We have not seen the growth in investment that you mentioned in this precinct. We hope that the direct beach access is improved to ease the beach access and improve the investment. So yes, 100%. The beach access, because we've got coastal forests, it's taken some time to actually get the beach pathways, opened up and do it in a way that's, it's environmentally sound. So I think at the moment there's 3 routes down to the beach, and those have taken about 2 years to actually get in and track the fauna, the flora, and even the bird life, animals. Obviously, it's a very slow process, but I think the guys have got it really early, have maybe suffered a bit with the ability to get down to the beaches, but I think we are there now. Also, a lot of effort's been taken to make sure that those areas are safe. I think there was about 7 or 8 vagrants actually living in the forest, which have now been, cleaned out and removed. And a lot of the dark patches and areas that, we as developers were concerned about, together with the surveyor management guys, concerned about opening up large pathways and abilities to maneuver through the forest if it wasn't 100% safe, because it's certainly something we don't want as any incident. So we are at that stage now where, guys are really enjoying these pathways and accesses down to the beach. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up there. Hopefully we've answered as many questions. I see there are some more coming through, but if there are any questions that aren't answered, please just pop them on the Facebook site and we'll answer them. We will have another chat on Friday, and I'll push the topic out probably tomorrow on what we're going to chat about. But everyone stay safe, and thank you for dialing in. Please join us again Friday at 10 o'clock, and keep safe, and God bless South Africa. Thanks a lot. Cheers.